Good afternoon and welcome to this Tuesday, January 22nd edition of Westman Newsline. I'm Colton Yarch alongside Chandler Shirtliff and Dylan Donald. In today's news, we'll tell you about the preliminary budget of the Brandon School Division, as well as breaking news from the United States regarding another school shooting. And Chandler will be in with sports. Chandler, I understand the Ottawa Senators thanked their fans in a strange way and were rewarded with a win.
That's right, Colton. The fans were given free beer and the Senators shut out the Florida Panthers in their home opener. I'll have that and more later on in sport.
Thanks, Chandler. And Dylan will be in with weather. Dylan, I understand that if you're enjoying this cold weather, then you'll be a happy camper.
That's right, Colton. If you're unlike me and actually enjoying these minus 30 temperatures, then get ready for a whole lot more of them this week. Currently in Brandon, it's cloudy and minus 23, but with winds out of the west at 11 kilometers an hour, it feels more like minus 31. I'll have all your weather details coming up later in the show.
Thanks, Dylan. Breaking news now. Shots have been fired and multiple people have been shot on the campus of Lone Star College in Houston, Texas. We cannot confirm the number of victims. However, there are reports that 2 people outside the building are being tended by emergency services. There is no immediate information on the shooter. The campus is being evacuated, and some students are saying they heard gunshots when they were in the cafeteria. The Brandon School Division has revealed its wish list for the 2013-2014 season. On Monday night, School Board Chair Mark Sefton released its first version of the budget to the school board trustees, giving them their first look at how rapid enrollment affected the numbers. Some factors include additional staffing, including 57 new positions, as well as infrastructure and support for program delivery. At this point in time, it's difficult to judge what the changes will be, and everything hinges on the February 1st announcement regarding provincial funding. The mayor of the small Manitoba community of Ethelbert says everyone's been left reeling by the second discovery of a body on a property. Mitch Mahalik says that 300 townspeople are in shock and are frightened for their own safety. RCMP have not publicly named the woman in her 70s found dead in a house on Saturday or an adult male found dead on the property yesterday. They say the man's death is being treated as suspicious. A Winnipeg man has been sentenced to 13 years in prison for killing his niece after she refused his demands to have sex. Mario Valdez, who is 39, pleaded guilty to manslaughter for the 2010 slaying of 23-year-old Catherine Gastador. Court was told Valdez had been secretly dating Gastador just prior to the homicide. Valdez's sister had adopted Gastador. The relationship was filled with problems and included Gastador obtaining a restraining order against Valdez, only to withdraw it days later. The trial has begun for 2 Winnipeg police constables accused of trying to cover their tracks after one of them shot an unarmed suspect. In opening statements yesterday, the Crown told the jury the officers went way outside their duties. Daryl Selly and Christopher Overwater are charged with obstruction of justice, while Selly is also charged with attempted murder. Both officers have pleaded not guilty to all counts. A chief in northern Manitoba is blaming drugs for fueling deadly violence on reserves in recent weeks. Kiwatanuk Innu Akimawan Grand Chief David Harper says normal, everyday people who are sober don't try to harm others. In the first 3 weeks of this year, there have already been 6 homicides. The latest was 19-year-old Austin Manias of Cross Lake, who died early Sunday morning from injuries he suffered while at a house party in the northern community. Manias was the nephew of Elder Raymond Robinson, who is fasting in support of Attawapiskat Chief Teresa Spence. The federal government is appealing a court decision requiring it to fully consult with Treaty 1 First Nations in Manitoba before selling the Kapyong Barracks site in Winnipeg. A spokeswoman for the Defense Department said the government filed its appeal late last week. Kathleen Gillott says the main grounds for appeal are that the federal court judge made errors in law with respect to what he ordered and his analysis of the duty to consult. This will indefinitely extend the legal battle over the 160 acres of prime real estate, which has now lasted more than 5 years. Manitoba progressive conservatives say people with eating disorders are facing unacceptable wait times for treatment through a provincially run program. The Tories say it waits for the treatment of anorexia and bulimia at Winnipeg's Women's Health Clinic have fluctuated between 6 and 18 months. Health Minister Teresa Oswald says the clinic is getting extra administrative support so clinicians can spend more time with patients, and the hope is to reduce wait times soon to about 5 to 6 months. The Canadian Mental Health Association says eating disorders have the highest mortality rates of all mental illnesses, with 10 to 20% of sufferers eventually dying from complications. There's an old saying that suggests neither snow nor rain, nor heat nor gloom of night will keep postal workers from finishing the job. Except in Winnipeg, where bitterly cold temperatures yesterday meant mail didn't get delivered to about 18,000 homes. John Keynes of Canada Post says postal carriers have great parkas, carry hand warmers, and can usually stop at a few places along their route to warm up. But he says when it gets as cold as it did yesterday, that's just not enough. Keynes says service will resume once the weather warms up a bit. And with that, we won't delay. Let's see where the markets are sitting today.
Westman Newsline, produced by the IMA Media Production students of Assiniboine Community College. Local news, weather, and sports on Brandon's only TV newscast, Westman Newsline, airing at 1 p.m. Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday on WCG TV.
Turning to international news, it was a jam-packed inauguration day in the nation's capital yesterday with speeches, parades, music, and dancing, all to celebrate the start of President Obama's second term. Renee Marsh is live in Washington, D.C. with the highlights.
Barack Hussein Obama do solemnly swear.
It was a day full of symbolism. America's first black president inaugurated publicly for a second term on the day the nation commemorates Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday. One of the Bibles Obama used at the swearing in belonged to the slain civil rights leader. And within the president's speech, a theme of civil rights and equality.
For our journey is not complete until our wives, our mothers, and daughters can earn a living equal to their efforts. Our journey is not complete until our gay brothers and sisters are treated like anyone else under the law.
The president's inaugural speech sandwiched between poetry and music. The grand finale, Beyoncé singing the national anthem. Then, onto the parade route, where the president and first lady greeted cheering crowds, Vice President Biden doing the same. The whirlwind of a day punctuated with the official commander-in-chief ball. The question of the night, what will the first lady wear?
Michelle Obama.
Miss Obama opted for a long red Jason Wu gown, the same designer she wore to the inaugural balls 4 years ago. The first couple enjoyed their first dance at the star-studded event. Now the focus shifts to pressing issues, including the debt ceiling, gun control, and immigration reform.
Online dating site Match.com is being sued for $10 million. A Las Vegas woman says she met a man on the popular site when he viciously attacked her. Reporter Aaron Drawhorn explains why the woman says the site is at fault.
Mary Kate Beckman is a living miracle.
That I shouldn't even be here today. I really do feel better than I ever have.
Seeing the real estate agent today is a far cry from 2 years ago when she was beaten senseless.
There were 10 stab wounds, 8 on my physical body, 2 on my head, and then when the knife broke, there was stomping on my head so that there was such severe brain trauma and head trauma.
Wade Ridley broke into Beckman's garage in January 2011 and hid there, waiting for her to come home. He confessed to police he was in a rage, angry his Match.com dates with Beckman from 3 months before never worked out. Murder was on his mind. The next month in Arizona, Ridley stabbed another ex-girlfriend with a butcher knife and machete, killing her.
I do not believe that online dating is a safe venue for men or women.
Match.com posts a list of safety tips when an online relationship goes offline, including meeting in public and telling a friend.
It is absolutely not safe.
Attorney Mark Sagis represents Beckman, and they are suing Match.com for almost $10 million.
Well, the basis of the lawsuit is the advertising that is utilized by Match.com, lulling women and men into a false sense of security.
It's other women, other men, and children. Kids think that online dating is the only way to go, and so I'm terrified by what our generations, coming up can be facing.
Beckman hopes this suit stops online dating dangers.
Ridley was in serving time in prison for the attack on Beckman and also facing a murder charge in Arizona when he killed himself in prison last year. That's it for news, but stay tuned. Dylan's up next with Newsline weather.
Good afternoon with Newsline weather. I'm Dylan Donald. Well, as I mentioned earlier, cold, and even more cold is set for this week, so be prepared. Currently in Brandon, it's cloudy and minus 23, but with the winds out of the west at 11 kilometers an hour, it's feeling more like minus 31. This evening, we'll see some mix of sun and cloud, minus 16, but it'll feel more like minus 34 with those winds from the west at 15 kilometers an hour. Overnight, colder temperatures that are going to be back around minus 30, winds from the west at 15 kilometers an hour. Taking a look at our radar image now, as you can see, there are patches of precipitation across the southern part of Manitoba. Moving to our satellite image now, our province is clear for right now, but cloud cover is making its way from the west coast. Moving to our 5-day forecast now, the rest of the week is not looking pretty. Temperatures ranging from a high of minus 21 to a low of minus 30. The weekend is looking like we'll get back to those temperatures that we're used to. Thursday, expect to see some flurries with an 80% chance of more snow, which is just what we need. Saturday, a high of minus 5, and Sunday, a high of minus 11 and a low of minus 14. Now let's take a look around the region. Winnipeg is in at minus 26 degrees, while Port St. Perry is in at minus 23. Dauphin is reporting in at minus 18 at this hour. Neepawa, minus 21 degrees. Carberry, minus 25. Killarney, minus 22. Minnedosa, minus 23. And Verdun is rounding us out in at minus 20 degrees. Seasonal norms for this time of year are a high of minus 13 and a low of minus 24. The record high was set back in 1942 when we hit plus 3.9 degrees. The record low was established in 1966 when we hit minus 39.4 degrees. Once again in Brandon, it's cloudy and minus 23. But with the winds out of the west at 11 kilometers an hour, it's feeling more like minus 31. That's it for weather, but stick around. Chandler's up next with Newsline Sports.
Good afternoon with Newsline Sports. I'm Chandler Shirtliff. Last Thursday, Lance Armstrong admitted to Oprah in an interview that he did use performance-enhancing drugs after denying that he did for so long. So, for our question of the day, Westman Newsline asked, how do you feel about Lance Armstrong now?
I think he denied it for so long, saying he wasn't using it, and then, to find out that it was, actually was disappointing.
I just feel it's really sad that him and all the other people that are like sports icons are now all admitting that they're taking performance-enhancing drugs.
If anything, it hurts. It's his own personal standing in the public's eyes.
I think that what he did was actually not a good example for those who want to embark on that sport.
It's about time.
Finally, we get to discuss an actual game as opposed to just the lockout. Tyler Seguin and Patrice Bergeron scored in the shootout to lift the Boston Bruins to a 2-1 win over Winnipeg. Tuukka Rask made 26 saves in regulation to get the win. Meanwhile, the Calgary Flames have already dropped 2 at home in the young season following a 5-4 defeat to Anaheim. Toronto Maple Leafs fans went home disappointed from their team's home opener. Ryan Miller made 34 saves as the Buffalo Sabres downed Toronto 2-1. Miller has beaten the Leafs 28 times in his career, but the most of any NHL club. Ben Scrivens made 18 saves in his second straight start in goal for Toronto. And now to a Canadian team that actually won. The Ottawa Senators thanked their fans by giving away free beer and then provided them with an emphatic victory. Kyle Turris scored twice and Craig Anderson made 31 saves as the Sens shut out Florida 4-0 in their home opener. Each fan of the legal drinking age at Scotiabank Place got a free glass of suds as a post-lockout thank you. And Colton, that's it for sports.
Thanks, Chandler, and that's all the time we have for you today. Be sure to join us again tomorrow for Brandon's